everyone, and welcome to the Lazarus Project Season 2 pre-show, brought to you by Nerdist and TNT. My name's Trisha Hershberger, and tonight we are going to be geeking out about all things time loop, time travel, and what time you should tune in to a brand new season of the Lazarus Project on TNT. Spoiler alert, the answer is 9/8 Central. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, and no, you're not in a time loop. No, the Lazarus Project really is coming back for a second season. And to celebrate, I am joined by some of the biggest sci-fi fans that I know. Please welcome to the stream my good buddies, Erika Ishii, Ify Nwadiwe, and Kyle Hill. Welcome, friends. Hi.
Hello.
We're all here on the internets to talk the Lazarus Project. I love it so much. For folks who may be watching who do not know these lovely faces, let's go ahead and introduce everybody one at a time. I'm going to do this Brady Bunch style. So let's say, Ify, you go first.
All right. Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm Ify Nwadiwe, comedian, actor, nerd, host of Actually, filled with nerdy corrections, and sci-fi nerd all around.
Beautiful. How about Kyle? Let's toss it over to Kyle.
Oh, hello. I'm award-winning science educator and gentrified Jason Momoa, Kyle Hill. If you want to know anything about it, I was saving that one. That was a good one. If you want to know about anything from the physics of One Punch Man to the dogs of Chernobyl, check out my videos.
Kyle's your guy. Erika, if people don't know your breadth of work, my friend, how could you give them a brief intro?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. So, Erika, I'll be Erika's voice for right now. Erika is funny enough that we cannot hear her because she's a wonderfully talented voice actress. So normally you get to hear her voice in many games, but hopefully we'll get to hear her voice in just a moment. And also, folks, speaking of voices we want to hear from you watching at home. If you have any burning questions throughout the show, please send them our way, and we will do our best to try to answer them on this stream for you. Now, whether you are a massive fan of the Lazarus Project already, or maybe this is your first time hearing about the show, that's okay. We're going to get you up to speed. And to do so, let's go ahead and take a quick look back at some of the biggest moments in Season 1.
Welcome to the Lazarus Project. Not heard of us? Let me catch you up.
We're a top-secret organization dedicated to undoing mass extinction events. Oh, and we can make time go backwards.
That's George. That's Sarah. The date is July the 1st. You should remember that part.
Life is good for George, until he wakes up on the same day and realizes he's stuck in some kind of time loop.
They weren't dreams, Sarah. We've done all this before we did this day.
Freaks you out first, doesn't it?
Time travel.
Why is time jumping backwards?
Because we made it.
George has the rare ability to recall time jumps, all orchestrated by us, the Lazarus Project. We've been preventing the world from ending for years, undoing time to a particular date known as a checkpoint, in this case the 1st of July, and we keep resetting until our mission is complete.
How'd you like to come and save the world with us?
George joins us on his first mission. A nuclear warhead called Big Boy has been stolen by Dennis Rebrov, a former employee turned traitor. We track him down in Paris, but he gets the better of us and detonates. Once again, we wake up on the 1st of July. Our mission, incomplete. You're getting the hang of it now. We continue to pursue Rebrov while George stays at home with Sarah. She's hit by a truck on her way to work, and Sarah, sadly, dies.
You can't turn back time to stop what happened to Sarah.
Rebrov's been captured, which means no time jump, and no guarantee of saving Sarah. So George turns to the one man he knows can help him get her back, Rebrov.
You want to turn back time?
I can save her.
And are you willing to burn down everything to start again?
Yes.
Really, George? Rebrov tells George that the only way to get Sarah back is to detonate Big Boy. George agrees to the mission and heads to Barcelona to meet Rebrov's contact and the only person who can build him a detonator. Her name is Janet.
I was in Lazarus, just like you.
Rebrov and Janet were once lovers who lost a child in favor of a mission. so they both turn their backs on the team. Now armed with a detonator, George heads to Romania to track down Big Boy. Shiv, another member of the Lazarus Project, gets suspicious and follows him.
You don't want to go down this path.
I'm gonna bring her back, Shiv. I'm gonna bring you back too.
Eventually, he's able to locate Big Boy and detonates it on Russian territory, but his mission has failed. The damage isn't great enough to turn back time, so George takes things one step further, killing a Russian ambassador and inciting war. The Lazarus Project has no choice but to turn back. I really hope she's worth it, George. The clock has been reset. Sarah and Shiv are alive, and Rebrov is free. George is happy until Sarah leaves him.
It's not the first time a relationship has been destroyed by time loops.
On July the 1st, George returns to his apartment and he's attacked by Shiv. He shoots Shiv at exactly 0 hours. A few weeks pass, and for reasons unknown, time resets again. It's the exact time that he shoots and kills Shiv.
So we're just gonna keep living the next 3 weeks on loop?
We can't stop it.
Someone's made a copy of the Lazarus Project's black hole, and time will keep resetting until we find a way to destroy it. Janet is the only one who can fix it, but we can't find her anywhere. Rui, a former agent of the Chinese government, appears to be involved too. That's an understatement.
You can remember time loops.
Did you think you were the only ones?
It's then that I finally find out about George's dealings with Janet.
You betrayed me.
I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed.
Actually, scrap that. I'm very fucking upset, George.
I think Shiv knows something.
Better find out a way to save him, hadn't you?
George manages to revive Shiv, who reveals that Rebrov is the king.
You won't find Janet because she's not here anymore. Someone's found a way to break through the checkpoint. They found a way to send her back in time. And if you want to get her back, you're gonna need my help.
And that's what brings us up to season 2. It's bigger, bolder, 100 times more batshit, and I think you're really gonna want to see it.
The Lazarus Project, new season, June 9th on TNT.
Archie, for that recap. So for the uninitiated, let's ask the simplest question. What is the Lazarus Project, and how does it stand apart from maybe other sci-fi and time travel stories? Erika, let's hear from you now that we can hear your lovely voice.
Hello, I'm here. So
Hello.
the Lazarus Project is it's so interesting because usually the time will loop for one day. This one has a whole 6 months, which is enough time to have a baby. I like to conceive and almost have a baby. It is enough time for you to place some bets and see the returns on those bets. And I
That's
think
a nice
one
way
of the
to
things
say
that-
really mess stuff up.
You know, see, that's the thing, is it's all relative. So, you know, if you don't cause the next world war or a giant pandemic or some sort of escalating nuclear conflict, you know, I think that really, truly anything's fair game, but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. So the Lazarus Project is very unique in that we get to see all of the different agents and each of their stories. One thing that I really enjoyed was that each of their stories cascades, and so you find out some of the pivotal points in our villain origin stories and the background of the project, and we have new dimensions added to it with each character that we get flashbacks from.
We do. We get like flashbacks to our flashbacks, if you will. Ify, tell me a little bit about George and Sarah and their relationship.
Oh yeah, I mean this is kind of like the kind of central point, especially for season 1, is George and Sarah and their relationship, because George joins the Lazarus Project, and throughout the Lazarus Project, I mean, before he even joins it, he has this like wonderful situation where he gets that job that he wants. Sarah gets pregnant, everything seems to be going good, and then time flashes back and he wants that. He got his happy ending. Everything went well for him, and I think that like hyper focus on achieving that goal is the crux of everything that happens in season 1. I think what's very interesting about it is that with the way that the Lazarus Project works, it's not like your typical like simple like time travel, time skip story, because there is a purpose behind the rollbacks, we'll say. Every rollback is for another attempt to stop an extinction event. So everything you do is a gamble, right? Because there's risks that people take. You'll notice later in the season that people, or even George himself, feels comfortable taking lives because it's the idea of like, well, I'm planning on rolling this back. But you know, if that is the year that the extinction event is stopped, everything you've done that year is saved. It's like living your life like a video game, and you don't know when the save point is the one that's gonna stick.
Yeah.
So kind of following George through this, and kind of in one of the rollbacks, Sarah is hit by a garbage truck, and he wants to force a rollback by creating an extinction event, which was all around this big bomb that Revrov was trying to use for purposes that were unknown. Revrov kind of falls off the handle, and like Erika said, as you kind of go through the season, you kind of see what everyone's motivations are, but at its core is George's selfishness in the pursuit of love. And I think in another story, this would be seemingly romantic, but I think in this story specifically is very selfish. And
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you that it's pretty selfish, but we'll delve into the morality in just a moment. We together, and I have had the privilege of knowing you all for a while now, we all are a group of people who love both the sci and the fi in equal measure, especially you, Kyle, when we're going to talk about science. So with that said, let's talk about some of the scientific concepts that this show tackles and kind of the ground rules the Lazarus Project lays out for them, especially in terms of time jumps and time travels. So Kyle, I see that you have a nice graphic here for us as well.
Welcome to Professor Kyle's Corner for a second. So in something like the Lazarus Project, you're not talking about wormholes as a way to time travel, which is a way that you can travel more space than you usually could in some amount of time. No, in the Lazarus Project, we're actually talking about going back into your own past to do something. Now, one of the ways that has been proposed, mathematically only, is called the closed time-like curve. You'll see right here, CTC, those are closed time-like curves. Now, if you imagine this diagram as your own space-time, I don't have to get too technical for you to realize that, as you can see, instead of just going upwards in time, that's the T here, instead of just going upwards in time, the blue line represents a way, which we can get into, of going backwards through time and meeting your own world line. So this world line is the blue line you see here. This is your actual path through space and time. So for something like the Lazarus Project, you are using something, black holes, we can also get into that, to create a time-like curve such that you are traveling through time normally. You're not like traveling at the speed of light or something, but you're traveling through time normally through those 6 months, or we'll get to it maybe a few weeks, then going back into your own past. Now, there's a lot of complicated questions and paradoxes that come along with that, but that's kind of the basic idea that I see the show working with.
So when the show mentions black holes and quantum physics, they're on the right track with what you're talking about, yes?
Yeah, I'd say black holes is tangentially correct. Not technically, maybe not the best kind of correct. It's tangentially correct in that one of the ways to warp space and time is to have massive objects like a black hole or your mama. So if you have a black hole, you can... Thank you, Ify. Jesus. So if you have a black hole rotating, so to speak, in this diagram you see that there's this cone being formed. This is from the rotation of a large mass, and it's actually dragging space and time along with it. So if you had a massive rotating black hole, then there is a way in which maybe your world line starts to point backwards. So I can see, maybe it's not the most technically accurate thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely in the ballpark or in the right universe, so to speak.
We love that. And I mean, honestly, when you're dealing with time travel of any sort in fiction, I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a kind of hand wave so everyone doesn't get too in the weeds with the science of it all and is able to suspend their disbelief and go along for the ride, if you will. Now, speaking of going along for the ride, what would you do? Here's a question for all of you. What would you do if you found yourself in a time loop? Do you think you would be the type of character that joins the Lazarus Project, or would you just, I don't know, cause mischief and mayhem? Erika, I feel like the Chaos Gremlin might come out. Oh, we lost you, Erika. We lost your mic again. Oh no! How about Ify? Ify, you tell me what you would do. Would you join the Lazarus Project?
Well, I think the first kind of few loops would be me thinking that I was in a dream. Like I wouldn't even think that I'm like actually living in a time loop. And then I think eventually, yes, I would join the Lazarus Project just to have a community of people who are going through the same thing that I'm going through. Because having those same conversations, especially when we got towards the end of season 1, where you just had him having the same conversation with his neighbor over and over, like eventually I'm gonna have to sauce it up. Eventually I'm gonna break. Yeah, no, I need the Lazarus Project just for my mental health.
Okay, just so you've got something to do in this besides just reliving it. Erika, you have something to chime in?
Okay, yes. So I'm going to say that on one hand, saving the world is a noble pursuit and all. But also, who is the Lazarus Project? Who did they work for? Like, what is, I don't know that I could agree to work for a shadowy cabal. I just feel like my anti-authoritarian streak is too strong to want to unquestioningly take orders from an organization. And the whole thing, 4 babies born every second. It's like, how come those babies aren't as important as the babies that might be saved by my time meddling? I would definitely I would definitely be messing with things.
You would?
Because once again, unless I'm causing some sort of cataclysmic extinction event, I'm pretty sure that, me going around and pulling pranks that nobody will ever remember is negligible.
Well, Erika, you bring up a good point.
I would also need somebody on the inside to tell me, for sure, it's like, ooh, it looks like we're going to have to reset this time. And I'll be like, great, let me just do something to... Chaos.
Yeah. Do it. But Erika, you bring up a great point about the moral implications, right, of what your actions would be. Kyle, do you think you would be one that joins the Lazarus Project, or do you think you would, maybe spread random acts of kindness and also pranks?
Well, Erika, if there's anyone who's going to be at the heart of an apocalypse, it's going to be you. But I might disagree just a little bit in that I don't think people think enough about existential threats. I think we are far closer to the end of the world than most people realize, especially from something like nuclear war. We don't have to talk about that now, but there are subs off the coast of New York and California ready to destroy the continent at any one period of time. Don't think about it too hard.
We'll just loop.
Yeah, we'll just loop. So we are much closer than people think to nuclear annihilation or AI taking over or a synthetic pandemic. So you know what? I actually would want to be a part of an actionable, a group that is actually doing something to maybe ensure the future of civilization. Because from where I'm sitting, maybe not enough people are trying to deal with, even 5 years out. Us millennials are pretty doom scrolly.
How do you know when they pick and choose the things that they are the correct things to do? And also, isn't that just like you trying to have the illusion of control? Because, something's always going to happen.
Well, if it's in the form of a big red button that ends the world, I think it's a little bit more controllable than, a solar storm or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the illusion of control is a fantastic point because we see George kind of face this over and over. So let's go ahead and talk about the implications of season 1's finale and what they might mean or be setting up for season 2. So I want to bring the discussion back around to specifically what's happening in the show right now and prime everyone for the episode that they are about to watch. So we leave things off, and things are pretty hairy. Ify, you want to give us just like a very quick recap where we leave things off?
Oh, Yeah, basically we leave things off with George getting to set off that bomb and dealing with the implications of everything that happened. He tries to kill Shiv after running from him and telling Shiv that he's been blackmailed and everyone kind of believes him. And but then the killing of Shiv, who shows up at his apartment, leads to him trying to cover that up, but getting caught by the police. And just as he's handcuffed, time goes back and he's like, what the hell happened? And it turns out that there is the holes have clashed together and has created a singularity event, and now they are stuck in a 3-week time loop, unable to get out. So that's where we kind of leave things off. Oh, and one more thing, Sarah now took the serum and now can see when the time loop happens. And this is George's, once again, selfish plan to somehow convince Sarah that they are meant for each other. But will that be the case? Question mark.
I don't know. Poor Sarah. I don't know that I would want to take the serum given the circumstances. Erika, you look like you have thoughts.
Yeah, I think that Sarah, like, truly, because either you were born with the mutation, and we see how much that messes with Shiv's life, and or you have it injected into you, but you get to choose it. Can you imagine if, like, they weren't even engaged before he, like, gave her the serum and everything? I just think Sarah deserves better. George is very smart and very handsome and very brave, but also I just, girl,
But
I think she can do better.
He kind of goes full bad guy in season 1. Like, he really takes a turn into, like, we are in your villain era, sir. And, I'm with Erika. Maybe she deserves better. Kyle, thoughts on how season 1 left off?
Yeah, I think it was a good story point to have something like a general nuclear war happen, given that it is probably the most plausible and accessible for people in terms of looming existential threats. But I'm with Erika, and it's very difficult for me to square this ethically and morally as being an acceptable action. In a lot of movies and sci-fi shows, it's kind of this tragic sacrifice that happens to save somebody's life, right? Something at a personal cost. But if time is looping and the future, and this is part of the block view of the universe, if the future and the past all simultaneously exist, then all of this suffering and this is the most suffering that humanity can endure, like a general nuclear war. You're talking about billions of people either being vaporized or dying horribly or going through a nuclear winter or something like that. All of that exists still and happens to people. Yes. So to consider that like a good trade for this woman who's, listen, it's just your girlfriend. I mean, it's not, this has to be a little bit more before I literally destroyed civilization for you. So I hope that the Lazarus Project going forward leans more into the absurdity of that, the dichotomy between ending the world and small personal decisions. I think that's an interesting moral ground where you could kind of play around with stuff.
I do think maybe season 2 is going to venture there. I'm curious, Ify and Erika, if you have any big season 2 predictions. So we think Kyle thinks we're going to go over the moral implications of world ending versus relationship ending, which should definitely be delved into. But Ify?
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna discuss this idea of fate that's been floating over this whole season 1, right? Where you have someone like George who thinks that him and Sarah are fated to be together because in summer, they had all of these like different time loops, and when it finally stopped was when they got together. So maybe we will get another perspective on that to really explore. Is it really fate or is it convenience, and what is fate actually? Yeah.
I mean, I think we should definitely explore all of the moral implications of that, as well as what Erika brought up earlier about who really is the Lazarus Project, who are we working for? Are they, in fact, the good guys? Erika, do you think we'll get a little more into that in season 2?
I think we'll get more into that. I also really want to know what is happening with Janet. Because, like, to be honest with you, yes, the idea of humanity as a whole and the global implications of their actions, but also if I was forced to give birth multiple times to the same baby, that would be my villain origin story, and she has every right to go and try to destroy the world. Is my thought. Perhaps that might not be very popular with humanity, but truly, if that was happening to me, that would be my villain origin story. I do want to know what's happening with her because she can help stop the loop. And yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to find out about the Lazarus Project, who they are.
Yes, and who is really calling the shots? Is it what we think? Is it something we haven't seen yet? I don't know. I also really want to know what is going to happen with Sarah now that Sarah has taken the serum and she can remember things. What will that mean for George and Sarah? What will that mean for them moving forward? There are so many questions that I have personally. I think that we all have, but maybe we'll get answers in season 2. Now, I know there's also so many questions that our audience has because we are live in quite a few different places right now. Thank you all for being here today. One question that we did have from chat is, how would you compare the Lazarus Project to other time travel stories and what makes it different? I think this is a fascinating one. A lot, like I mentioned before, a lot of us are sci-fi fans, so there's many different ways we can go with this. And I'm going to toss this back to Kyle.
Woo. I like it in that it's a longer, more extended loop, as Erika said, than you're usually dealing with as compared to something like a Live, Die, Repeat or Edge of Tomorrow, if you remember the original name. So I like having in a more extended loop for things to happen and for people to ruminate on their actions. And it's in that way, I think it's fine that they not necessarily ignore, because I don't know everything that they're going to do, but some time travel paradoxes that are usually at the heart of stories like this. Like Back to the Future, for example, probably the most famous time travel movie, is all about the grandfather paradox, where if I go back in time and alter my future, then how do I exist in the future? And he fades away in a picture. Don't ask me how that happens. I have no idea. But I like that it's exploring a different space in that way, and specifically tying it to existential threats is kind of that. It ups the stakes for all of the loops, and I find that an interesting space to play around in.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting that in the time loops of the Lazarus Project, things tend to happen the same each time unless it's altered in some way. So at Ify, as you kind of brought up before, it's almost like save scumming in a video game, right? Like you're getting a chance to figure it out and go back over and over and over and over until you get the puzzle finally, right?
Yes. Oh, yes, but also it's a risk, right? Because if that's the version that things are figured out, everything you've done is real, which was that fun moment in season 1 when they were like, yeah, it was a bomb that blew up in the middle of the field. This isn't, it should be fine. He's like, no, I don't want to be a murderer.
Yeah, all those people you killed, totally fine. But, they didn't know. They didn't know that he was behind it all. The only one that knew who was behind it all was George, which I hope he feels bad at some point. I feel like he's still kind of rocking scot-free, like, didn't happen, I'm good.
Well, that's the fun thing about, like, George in this show is it's such a, like, like investigation of selfishness, because he's someone, like, out of all the stuff he's done, he's really, his only concern is like, do you forgive me yet? Is it good? Are you happy yet? And like, he's never really tried to find retribution for any of his actions, because he feels so confident in the fact that he did what he should and he did what he has to do.
And
And
maybe I'm reaching too far, but I do see some allegory here to the original makers of the atomic bomb and what they went through. It's going to sound like I'm reaching, but Big Boy is actually an amalgamation of Fat Man and Little Boy, the original two bombs that were dropped on Japan in 1945. And after that happened, and if you saw the movie Oppenheimer, but also happened in real life, of course, all of these scientists on the Manhattan Project spent the rest of their lives basically haunted. I remember a story of Nobel Prize winner Richard Feynman sitting on a park bench and looking at buildings being built in New York and saying, why are they doing any of this? It doesn't matter anymore. It can all just go. So I wonder if this loss and why are we doing anything if time can just loop back over, and does anything really matter? Maybe I'm getting a little bit too trying to find what I want in the story, but I can see something like that, and I like it.
Well, that's what art is for, right? So we can all examine it and kind of find what we want in it. In terms of just kind of playing around with the fiction of it all, Erika, here's a fun question from chat that I'm going to give to you. Would you rather be in a time loop stuck in the past or stuck in the future, and why? This is a chat question.
Okay, and the question is, like, truly, is it, how far in the past are we talking? Because
Could it be
very key.
Yeah.
Like, they ask Archie early on, it's like, he's like, so you could time travel back to the 1800s, and she's like, why would I want to do that? I'm a brown woman, like, and it's like too far into the past, and I would not be as interested. But if it was like, I don't know, like in my past, and then the question would be like, if there is time travel, like how does that affect my future? Okay, the past has too many problems. I think for me to want to go there, I'd have to think about that too hard. But I think like possibly in the future, possibly in the now, and like if he was saying about safe scumming, I'd keep on doing it until I got it right, and like what is like the smallest amount of what is the smallest action that I can take that would cause the biggest like positive effect for me or for the world, right? Because we see that one scene, like I still think about like when Shiv goes and gets the burrito, and it's like that's how he convinces Archie, because then this man wasn't murdered in front of her because of her, supposedly. So I think I'd go back and find out like what's the smallest actions that I can take to have the biggest net positive.
I love that. Erika's making the world a better place with her answer. That's a great answer. I love it. Yes, just the smallest things you need to do efficiently. Okay, here's another chat question. What would you pair with the Lazarus Project Season 2 premiere as a double feature, and why? So let's say someone watching this stream right now is going to watch Season 2, Episode 1, and then wants to watch something else after. What would you pair with it as a nice double feature? Now, I know these are chat questions, so none of us have had a chance to like think about our answers ahead of time. But if anyone has an idea that jumps out at them, please take it.
Yeah, I'd say Interstellar. I really like this. A lot of the kind of way they were approaching it reminded me of Interstellar, and how it was using the black hole and going in the Tesseract, and you had some time travel within it, and the time-space type situation. I know it is. Yeah, there it is, right behind Kyle. And ever since seeing that, I've been obsessed with it. So I'm going to be watching all of Kyle's videos after this.
Thank you. I'm going a little bit older. I'm going a little bit. I want to stay weird. I want more of the exploration of weird time travel mechanics. I'm saying if you haven't seen 13 Monkeys, I'm saying go check out 13 Monkeys with a young Brad Pitt. I think.
Keeping it weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's young Brad Pitt or Bruce Willis or both. I forget. But that movie was weird and good.
13
Am I crazy?
Monkeys is young Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah, right? It was also a TV show recently.
Chat will fact check us.
Oh, no, it is young Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis. So, check that out.
There you go. Nailed it. Well done. Well done, Kyle. Erika, do you have a movie you would double feature with season 2, episode 1?
You know what? I think I haven't seen it, which is like one of the reasons why I'd be like I might try and do it. But I know it is very centered on like the love story aspect of it. But I think it's like about time, right? Mm-hmm. Which is I'm just going off of the trailers, and somebody told me about it. It's like a rom-com, but like a romantic drama that involves time travel and fate and people being meant for each other. So I'd go for the more sort of like romance sci-fi aspect of it.
Something for a nice little, change of pace maybe afterwards. I would also probably go light. I'd go like a Back to the Future or something like that, so we can, the heavy moral implication stuff. You spend your time ruminating there, and then we have a good chuckle after that. All right, and here is one more chat question. If the Lazarus Project was already taken as a name, what would you name your shadowy world-saving agency? I'm going to start with Ify.
I would go with,
it's a shadowy...
It's a shadowy organization.
I know. Yeah, my organization just turned up. Hold on. Let me. I'm gonna just say it in the shadow and then get my camera going after this. But I always go with the loop-de-loop for the time loop.
I love the loop. The loop-de-loop sounds great. Kyle, what would you name your shadowy organization?
Well, I benefit from the fact that I've already thought pretty hard about this. I'm thinking of the facility.
Ooh.
Which is also shadowy. Bye-bye.
Oh, bye-bye. Erika, what would you name your shadowy organization? I love the tricks today.
I'm still.
See, here's the thing: is what I would do is I would give it a different name each loop, because it's like you got to try these things out, and who's gonna remember it?
Yes. Yeah, well, but then it would get very confusing in different loops who you're talking about, maybe. Or maybe it would be confusing on purpose so that people like a Dennis or a Janet would have a harder time. I don't know, but I love the names. I love the loop-de-loop I'm coming for. I love the facility, you said, yes?
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes. Why don't they meet themselves in the past?
Yeah.
If they're their future selves, why don't they meet their past selves that still exist?
Ooh.
Because it resets. The future selves aren't there at the same time.
Yeah, not physically.
But how did they get there to get to the future to be reset to the past?
This is the time travel paradox.
Yeah,
this is the
Lazarus Project. Answer me that. I want to shake hands with myself. I also want to say to myself, go back to Shanghai, China, 2001, and when Morgan Speece asks you to dance at the school dance in 6th grade, you say yes.
Do it. 6th grade Kyle's going to say yes. All right, folks. Well, it looks like our time is up now, but your time loop is about to begin anew with the thrilling season of the Lazarus Project at 9/8 Central on TNT. Thank you again to our partners at TNT for making this stream possible. And thank you to our amazing panel for their insights and their time. Thank you so much also to everybody who tuned in and spent some time with us today. And now, to help tee up the sci-fi awesomeness ahead, let's take a look at what's coming your way this season on the Lazarus Project.
What exactly did you do?
Things got out of hand.
You fought off terrorists, exploded a nuclear warhead, causing an outbreak of war so destructive that we had no choice but to turn back time itself.
Yeah.
What did George tell you that we do here? He said you saved the world, and now you're going to help us. Welcome to the Lazarus Project, Sarah. We're stuck in an infinite time loop of 3 weeks, and the world will keep being destroyed for infinity.
Oh, that doesn't seem good.
We're going to build a time machine.
Humankind's survival rests on the success of this mission.
We'll have to live with the things we've done and all the things we're gonna do.
What if this is our chance to undo it all? Undo everything we ever did wrong?
This is how it always starts. A small group of people trying to do a good thing, not looking at the bigger picture. You know what we do here? We save the world, no matter the personal cost.
The Lazarus Project, new season, June 9th on TNT.